The watch was gone. A prized possession vanished from the teacher's desk, and just like that, accusations flew. Leo was a good student. Not the loudest, not the most popular, but diligent. He kept to himself, finding comfort in the quiet corners of the classroom, lost in his books. When the bell rang, signaling the end of the day, a small chaos erupted as students packed their bags, but in the aftermath, a stillness fell, broken only by the teacher's sharp, panicked voice. The watch, a beautiful, expensive timepiece, was missing. Eyes darted around the now empty room. Then, a single voice cut through the tension. I saw Leo near her desk. It was a simple observation, maybe even an innocent one, but it landed with the force of a hammer blow. Suddenly, all eyes were on him. Leo, the quiet boy, became the prime suspect. The rumor spread like wildfire, a toxic whisper carried on the breath of every student. It twisted and grew with each telling. Did you hear about Leo? He's a thief. The words clung to him like a second skin, heavy and suffocating. In the hallways, conversations would die the moment he approached. Heads would turn, fingers would point, and the air would fill with the unspoken weight of their stares. He felt completely alone, an island in a sea of suspicion. He was innocent, yet he was judged guilty without a trial. The feeling of injustice was a cold knot in his stomach. He was wrongly accused, and the world he knew, the safe, predictable world of school, had turned against him. The whispers followed him home, into his dreams, a constant, haunting chorus of his supposed crime. He tried to fight back, to reclaim his name from the mud it had been dragged through. I was just returning a pencil, he explained, his voice barely a tremor against the storm of their disbelief. He had noticed it on the floor after everyone had left, and simply placed it back on the corner of the desk. A small, responsible act. But his words were lost, drowned out by the rising tide of gossip. They saw what they wanted to see. A quiet boy, an opportunity, a theft. His explanation was dismissed as a flimsy excuse, a desperate lie. The more he protested his innocence, the guiltier he seemed in their eyes. No one believed him. The faces of his friends, once open and kind, were now closed off, their eyes filled with doubt and disappointment. The loneliness was crushing. The situation escalated. The whispers and pointing were one thing, but now, the principal was involved. He was called into a sterile, intimidating office, the door closing behind him with a definitive click. The principal, a stern man with kind but weary eyes, listened to the story. He looked at Leo, the evidence circumstantial, but the social pressure immense. The weight of the school's reputation, the teacher's loss, and the collective accusation pressed down on Leo. The pressure was immense, a physical force threatening to break him. He felt small and powerless, a single voice against a choir of accusers. The quiet office felt like a courtroom, and he was already convicted. But in that moment of despair, something shifted inside Leo. He could crumble. He could let the anger and bitterness consume him. He could accept the label they had forced upon him. Or he could fight, not with loud protestations or angry denials, but with quiet resolve. Leo had a choice: give up or find the truth. He chose the truth. A flicker of determination ignited within him, a small, steady flame in the darkness of his isolation. He wouldn't let their lies define him. He would find the real story, not for them, but for himself. Instead of retreating further into his shell, Leo began his own quiet investigation. He didn't confront or accuse. He simply observed and listened. He approached a few classmates he knew to be more observant, not with panicked questions, but with a calm demeanor. "What did you see after class yesterday?" he would ask gently. "Did anything seem out of place?" He absorbed their answers, filing away small, seemingly insignificant details. He was piecing together a puzzle, and he was the only one who cared enough to find all the pieces. As he retraced the events of that afternoon in his mind, a detail surfaced, sharp and clear. He remembered another student, David, acting very strangely. David, usually boisterous and confident, had been jumpy and nervous, avoiding eye contact. He had lingered by the door, glancing back at the teacher's desk with a look Leo now recognized as panic. He remembered seeing David's hand dart out quickly towards the desk, just as the crowd of students was surging towards the exit. It was a fleeting movement, almost lost in the chaos, but now it stood out in stark relief. The pieces clicked into place. David, known for his pranks and his sometimes misguided sense of humor. Leo pieced together the most likely scenario. David had taken the watch as a joke, a classic prank meant to cause a moment of panic before the triumphant reveal. But then, things had spiraled. The teacher's genuine distress, the immediate and serious investigation, and the swift accusation against Leo White had all scared him. The joke wasn't funny anymore. It was a serious crime, and David was too afraid to confess. His silence was born of fear, and Leo was paying the price. Leo knew what he had to do. He found David alone during lunch, sitting by himself, staring into his tray. He could have approached with anger, with the righteous fury of the wrongly accused, but he didn't. He sat down quietly, and when he spoke, it was not with anger, but with understanding. "I know it was you, David," he said softly. "I know it was a prank that went wrong." He saw the fear and guilt warring in David's eyes. He didn't threaten or demand. He simply appealed to the good person he knew David was, buried under a layer of fear. "It's not too late to fix this," Leo urged. "Doing the right thing is hard, but living with the guilt is harder. I'll be there with you." The dam of David's fear finally broke. Together, they went to the teacher's classroom after school. With Leo standing silently beside him for support, David confessed. He explained everything: the foolish prank, the spiraling panic, and his deep regret. He pulled the watch from his pocket and returned it, his hands shaking. The teacher listened, her expression shifting from confusion to shock, and finally, to a deep, profound remorse. The next day, the teacher stood before the entire class. Her voice was heavy as she explained what had truly happened. Then, she turned to Leo. "Leo, I am so sorry," she said, her apology echoing in the silent room. "We judged you, and we were wrong." One by one, his classmates followed suit, their apologies a mixture of shame and relief. The whispers and stares were replaced with looks of respect. They learned a powerful lesson that day. They learned that trust is fragile, a delicate thing that can be shattered by a single careless word. They learned that a clear conscience is more valuable than any watch, and that the truth, no matter how difficult, will always find its way to the light. And Leo, no longer alone, stood with the quiet strength of someone who had faced the storm and found his own justice.